support for all of us. Sir, please.
A warm good afternoon to one and all. It gives immense pleasure to welcome today's chief person, Bhargav Srivastava, for conducting this wonderful section. You know, currently we are facing a lot of cybersecurity issues, and all of us actually using Facebook, Instagram, and a lot of social media sites. Today, we are extremely happy with Bhargav sir for introducing and explaining about the various cybersecurity issues that is happening in industry. Without much delay, with immense pleasure, I am just giving the information about Bhargav sir. Is actually lecturer in cybersecurity in University of Portsmouth. Is actually involved in cybersecurity and spent most of the time in understanding and attacking the threats. At the same time, he also invested his time and his career for understanding various issues that is happening in industries. Is currently more focused on malware forensics and reverse engineering. The malware attacks are getting very complex, like security devices. So the main theme of this section by Sir is to provide more information about the cybersecurity things. And the strength of Bhargav Sir is teaching. At the same time, he like to train the students. So he have already taken classes to different colleges and universities in India and abroad. So with immense pleasure, I cordially invite Bhargav sir for taking this section. Thank you, and I wish everyone a very good section.
Well, thank you, Joseph sir. I think it's a very pleasure for me to interact with you. It's could you please confirm whether you are able to see my screen or whether you are able to hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir. Now it's visible, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Yeah, thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you, Joseph sir, for that quick introduction about me and what my profession is. So I don't think I need more introduction about myself than what he has given. All right, so I just want to discuss the cybersecurity threats to industries. The reason I was approached is one day, one of my students, his name is Jake Samuel, he approached me, give a webinar to you guys, give some gist on what cybersecurity is and what are the current threats over there. Then I said, okay, so, okay, I have a list of, couple of things that I can share with the students. I'm quite fascinated with this field because 4 years back, I was actually working in a company, and I have envisaged what the cyber attacks are and how complex the cyber attacks could really be, and that has made me jump into this particular field. Right, I spend most of my time, as it's been mentioned by the Joseph sir. I spend most of my time in cybersecurity, like mainly dealing with the malwares. I like playing with them and reverse engineering as well. All right, so these are my, this is my profile. So I have done my master's in cybersecurity threat intelligence forensics at University of Salford in Manchester. And I'm a consultant, a cybersecurity consultant and a trainer as well. I have about 2 years of experience in penetration testing. Now, what is the penetration testing? It's like, to be frank, so penetration testing is like hacking. Okay, so it's like ethical hacking. So you are given the network with the permissions, saying that, hey, and the company tells me saying that, hey, could you show us whether this particular organization can be hacked. So that's what you mean by a penetration testing. I need to penetrate inside the network. So I have 2 years of experience, and I found critical loopholes in some of the customers in Middle East and India. And most of the Indian that I work with, I have found some of the vulnerabilities in one of the top data centers and the government websites as well. So finding a vulnerability in government websites is not that difficult, because most of the government websites, to be frank, they're not really secure. So recently they have started taking steps, but this should have been taken long back. So 2 years of experience in pen testing. So right now I'm into threat intelligence and reverse engineering. All right. So I'll speak more about these things in place. Mostly what is a malware and what is a threat, right? And what is a threat and what are the current threats to cyber security industry? What are the current threats to the industries, and how do you gather the intelligence report? Fine. Yeah, sit back and relax. So if I say something about the industry, I'm talking about something called as critical national infrastructures. I don't know whether have you heard of this term before, but critical national infrastructure is an organization that is very critical for this particular country. If you talk about certain industries, so without those industries, the country cannot really run. All right. So as you can see over here, you have chemical industries, you have commercial facility sector, all right, and you have dams, and you have pharma industries, defense, electrical supplies, transportations like shipping, airways, and the railways and so on. Public health sectors and food and water systems and food and agriculture systems. So all these actually come under something called as a critical national infrastructure, which is very essential for any country to run. So these infrastructure can be owned by private as well as a government. Okay, so there's no specific thing. So based upon the government, they are actually defined as a private and the government owned. All right, so for this particular session, I'll be talking on attacks on CNI, especially, and what your role could actually be. I know many of them are from logistics and the previously mentioned sectors. Obviously, every industry, they need something called as logistics over here, especially the transportation sector and the manufacturing sector. Okay, they are really under huge attack. Right? So you may play a bit important role in managing the cybersecurity. If anyone is interested, perhaps you can contact me, and you can actually, for training or for consulting or anything as such. All right, let's talk on attacks on the CNI. CNI, when I say CNI, it means it's critical national infrastructure. Now, why do people attack on critical national infrastructure? All right, the reason is simple. For cyber espionage, okay, in order to make laws for the other government. If those attacks happen on that particular government, or if those attacks happen on that particular infrastructure, there is delay in the development of that particular country or that particular company as well. All right. So these companies, so there are two things over here. The countries are attacking countries over the web, and the companies are attacking companies over the web as well. All right. So why does a company attack the other company? Well, to gain a competitive advantage. You have companies like eBay and Amazon. And when it's a high time, the Amazon may perform an attack on eBay. I'm not making any, I'm just blindly giving an example. It's not any allegation, nor it has happened before, just a plain example. So this is what you mean by cyber espionage, which is perhaps easy because physical espionage means spying. Physical espionage may involve, a person getting into the organization, collecting the data and so on. Cyber espionage, it's very simple. You with your laptop, okay, with some strong amount of geeky information that you have in your head, you can actually perform cyber espionage in any company, in any organization, all right? Especially the government organizations. and manufacturing sectors and transportation sectors, because these are very vulnerable in place. Now, what do they exactly gain by performing these attacks or the cyber espionages? Okay, the malicious actors or the hackers, they affect something called as a CIA of the organization. If I say, it's not the CIA of the US, not the central intelligence agency. It's rather the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information. So these three things will actually impact a company more. If these three things impact, the company slows down, it faces certain laws in the market. Okay, it has to pay a fine. The customers will lose the trust, and so on. Right. So what is confidentiality? Confidentiality is nothing but a secret. So how does the confidentiality affects? So the attacker intrudes in the organization through the internet, and he may he may steal the data. That's one way. That's the first thing. If something that is secret for any organization, if that is stolen, obviously it could impact an organization. Next is the IP property, or the intellectual property that the company has. Well, if that is actually compromised, and the company is in serious trouble. And the integrity stands for the how authentic is the information. The attacker may get inside the organization and he can change the data. Okay, not steal the data, but he can change the data. So that could actually attack the integrity. I think it's an old book trick, which most of the college students, like you have performed before, like they have got into the organization, like university, they have changed the marks. I don't know how many of you have heard this before. They have literally changed the marks. So that's what you mean by integrity. So right now it's not happening often, but it used to happen when I was a student back in 2010. I finished my engineering in 2014. Yes, and stop calculating my age. So next, the integrity stands for, the other integrity is modifying the data as well, on encrypting the data as well. I think most of you have heard something called as WannaCry, the attack which has taken place in 2017, I guess. Yes, it's a major attack. It's a ransomware attack. So what did WannaCry do? Simple. It has impacted the integrity. Okay, so it has modified the files. It has changed the content of the files, and it also come. So if you come down, there's something called as availability. If the organization's availability of the affected, if I'm talking about the availability, I'm talking about the availability of the service. I'm talking about the availability of the data that they have. All right. So the attacker may come in, they may disturb your data, they may damage everything inside your organization. So that's what I mean by damaging the availability of the data. All right. So what exactly happens? Your service gets disrupted, your customers get pissed off, your service won't be available, your data will be destroyed, and there'll be delayed growth in the organization. So these are the three pillars of any information security, and they will be impacted on the cyber attacks. And the critical national infrastructures, as I mentioned before, okay, these are actually impacted by these kind of attacks, like data theft and so on. Now, am I speaking some figures, or am I speaking something vague, or do I have some figures? Well, this is the report. This is especially from the manufacturing industry, because I think most of you in logistics should be dealing with the manufacturing industry side, I guess. So that's the reason I picked up this particular sector, manufacturing sector. And this is the report, which is designed by the Verizon, and the name of the report is Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report. Now there are two terms over here. Just I'm putting them in the chat. Just note them somewhere else. Okay. Okay, I don't have the chat. I'm just putting them on the chat. So one is the cyber security. All right, so I'm not able to put that. So there are two terms over here that please remember them. So one is security incident, and the other one is a breach. Okay, so you have two things over here. So security incident is like an attempt to the attack. I mean, the attack has not happened, but there's an attempt on the attack. Okay, so that's what you mean by security incident. Okay, And a breach is a confirmed security incident. That means the attack has happened, the incident is severe, and the company is affected. So that's what you mean by breaching. Just remember this terminology. So one is security incident. That means there's an attempt to the attack, and there's something called as breach. That means confirmed attempt. So in the manufacturing sector, the Verizon database investigation report, the investigation says across the globe, 620 major incidents, and out of them 124 are major breaches that they have, confirmed breaches that they have. And most of the patterns, as you can see over here, they include cyber espionage, spying on each other, companies and governments, privilege misuse, and rest is the other kinds of the attacks, damage and so on. So the threat actors, most of the threat actors are 93% of the external. That means the attacks are from outside the organization, whereas the 7% are internal. That means, within the organization, there's something going on, which is absolutely, there are certain attacks within the organization itself. All right, so so most of the attack motives are espionage and for financial gains as well. Obviously, that's the reason they perform the attack. And yes, so it was a huge loss for the manufacturing industry. And this is a 2019 report. I think we have to get the 2021 report as well. So typically talking about the espionage or the spying that we have, okay, this is one of the famous cases. Lockheed Martin, I guess. It's a very famous company that actually manufactures the F-17 and F-35 planes that you have here. So Lockheed Martin is a company which has this particular case, and a man within the organization, a Chinese man, was actually surrendered. Okay, he even admitted, of stealing the secrets, F-35 secrets, back to China. Okay, if I show these two pictures, obviously the below pictures, you won't be saying, you won't be able to recognize which one of them is Lockheed Martin. I mean, which one of these the F-35 and which one of these is China's counterfeit. Well, on the left-hand side is the original one. That's the F-17 plane. Okay, so that was designed by the United States. Whereas on the right-hand side, so you see a plane with the same capabilities, almost same capabilities, but it was actually a counterfeit. Right, the technology has been copied. So Su Bin is a Chinese person who was actually responsible for stealing the information and sending back to China so that this China can actually make a counterfeit of it. So I didn't put this slide to blame China or something like that, but here's the thing. Okay, this is the manufacturing industry. They have manufacturing a plane involves a warcraft or a warplane is a heavy engineering craft, which is actually involved right from the wings. Okay, so right from the radar systems, the electronics, everything is very precise, and you need lots and lots of technology in order to create that particular plane. Okay, right from the aerodynamics, okay, the metal, the composition of metal and everything, and even the fuel as well. There's an engine involved, there's a radar system involved within the plane. Okay, all these things, the communication equipment which is actually involved, right? So so manufacturing a plane is not that easy. So it actually involves a lot of engineering. So you need a lot of research for that. So it's very simple for the Chinese company, China, in order to just steal the company and manufacture a plane. Okay. So that's the reason I just put this. So this is one of the famous case, and the top attacks that you had on the critical national infrastructures are these are the top attacks right from the 2005 to 2015. Then what about after 2015? Well, I don't have enough space in my PPT. That's the reason I didn't put. But just to give a brief idea, so these are the attacks on the critical infrastructure that you have. The grid interception, that means this is the responsible where the attacker was able to, hear the calls, the government-related calls. He was able to intercept the calls, right? So Estonia DDoS attack, that's the famous one. It was a DDoS attack on the Estonia infrastructure so that the entire telecommunication system comes down. All right, so the Komodo certification theft, this is one of my favorite. The certificate of the Komodo has been stolen. So what exactly is a certificate? Certificate actually says you whether you are a genuine person or not. So the entire digital certificate infrastructure has been stolen in 2010, which was a deadliest attack. Okay. So next in 2010, we had a famous attack which is called as STUXNET, which I'll be discussing in a while. And the STUXNET is a famous malware which was actually injected into the Iranians' nuclear power plant. All right. So you have Saudi Arabia Aramco attack, okay, where the Aramco is it's a $1 trillion company, and it's a very famous attack as well. I mean, more than 30,000 companies have been wiped out, right? So Norwegian companies, there's a virus called as Flame. Norway is actually rich in oil, so obviously the companies over there were actually attacked by a Flame virus. Okay, and similar goes to Sony hack. Very interesting. This thing. I don't know how many of you have watched this movie. There is a movie called The Interview. Okay, so where the hero or the actor, he interviews the North Korean supreme leader, Kim Jong. I mean, it's just a gimmick movie, but it's a very good movie. Please watch the movie, which is called as The Interview, and it was quite funny. They made a lot of fun on the Kim Jong Un, and finally they killed that particular person. So the North Korea had made a revenge on Sony. Okay, the Sony's PlayStations that you have, or so they have attacked on the Sony infrastructure, and it was a heavy loss for Sony company. And what Sony has to do with the movie? Well, the movie was actually sponsored by the Sony company. So that's the reason North Korea has attacked the Sony company. Ukraine's power grid, very good example it is. The entire power grid of Ukraine has been attacked and people had no power for a couple of days. So these are the major attacks that really happened. Even after 2017 as well, there were a couple of major attacks. So all I want to say is the attacks are happening. So even though they are critical national infrastructures, they have heavy budget on cybersecurity, even they have all the solutions, still they are prone to attack. All right. So next, let's understand the top malware attacks that you have. So my interesting subject, which is a malware attack. So attacks are of two kinds. One is attacking from the outside without any malware. So if there is a loophole in the web application or network, so attackers can directly hack inside the network. That's currently not happening more often. The reason being, people are smart, the companies are smart, they're patching up everything. So even in the patching, they are automating the patching as well. So currently the malware attacks are more often. Sorry. So the malware is nothing but an exe file, an executable file that you have, or a document file, Word document file, or a PDF file as well. But whenever you open those files, they do something on your system. All right. So what exactly they do? They give control to the remote attacker. Okay. So when you execute a malware, it actually gives a control. So the attacker can actually put the commands on your system. So that's one of the thing that it can perform. The malware can actually encrypt the files on your system. The malware can send data to the remote attacker. So there are multiple things that it can actually perform. All right, so malwares are growing very complex. So you may say that, hey, I have an antivirus solution. So my company uses a very good antivirus solution. Okay, let me be frank over here. I've been dealing with malwares for more than 2 years. So antivirus solutions are not really perfect solutions over here. You give me any virus, I can actually make it evade from the antivirus within 1 hour. So the complexity of malware is actually growing really fast. Okay. So you may have an antivirus, but antivirus can actually detect only known signatures. So every virus has a signature. It can only detect known signature. If the signature is unknown, then your antivirus says, hey, I cannot detect what exactly is this. Maybe it's a genuine file. Then you click it and you have compromised your system. So it has grown to such a complex that they are even using certain things called as 0 days. So 0 days are nothing but the loopholes on your operating system or the applications. 0-day vulnerability is a new vulnerability which are not disclosed, a new loophole. So malwares have grown such a complex such that they are using these vulnerabilities as well. So there's a gap between the execution, that means compromising, to the discovery. So there's a huge gap between them. So in that time, the attacker is conveniently able to do all the things that he can do. So am I talking just some nonsense, or do I have any figures? Well, this is one of the famous cases, that is the STUXNET. So just make note of it. This is a famous weapon which was actually included in, it has intruded inside the Iranian's nuclear power plant, and they say they have some enriching facilities in the Iran nuclear power plant, enriching facilities. Okay, and over there they have a lot of facilities, and around 900 centrifuges have been have been infected with this particular virus, and the virus was able to manage the speed of the centrifuge as well. All right, so this was a vast case, the entire world, and it has gone undetected for about more than 3 months. Yes, the 3 months is not a small day. I mean, right from the execution to the discovery, it took 3 months for them to to figure it out. So it was very complex. It was hiding inside the system, away from all the antiviruses that they have, but still there was no success. Next is the SHAMOON. This is a famous virus which has attacked the Saudi Arabia Aramco, and obviously the oil company, and more than 35,000 laptops and the desktops have been wiped out, because that's the amount of spreading it has occurred inside the company. Right. So yeah, so that's about the this is a very famous virus, and even the RAS gas were also affected using this virus. Next you have is the flame. A flame is actually related to some Iran, it's related to some Iran nuclear power plant, Iran oil companies as well, where over 1,000 machines are actually affected, but still that's a big number as well. So all I want to say is the malware is actually built for a purpose, and even the big companies, the oil companies, even though they have more budget, they are not, unfortunately, they are not able to manage these kind of attacks that they have. All right. So what exactly are the current threats that you have? So speaking about the current threats, okay, you have multiple kinds of malwares. So first thing is the Trojans, the viruses, the worms, and more on. So currently, so this is the threat, which is nothing but a crypto miner. A crypto miner is nothing but an executable. So if you have a crypto miner, if there's a crypto miner installed on my system, that particular crypto miner uses my CPU to validate the cryptocurrency transaction. So what is a cryptocurrency? It's an online currency where there's no record. So everything is based on a distributed ledger. So you can actually imagine there is no central authority, just like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Monero that you have. There is no organization that can actually monitor this. It's just a mathematics which is happening over the air across the servers, and your currency is actually getting managed over there. So even governments cannot really interfere in that particular currencies. And if I have to send you a cryptocurrency, there is a transaction involved, and the miners validate the transactions. So this transaction, you have to break a transaction hash, you have to use a lot of CPU power, you need a lot of CPU power. Well, so hackers have started building the crypto miners, okay? So they have started spreading them so that the PCs mine currencies for them. So these are the top currencies like Monero, Ethereum, Bitcoin. So they are actually mined. So it's a very free job. You build a crypto miner, you spread, and you start earning Bitcoins. Very easy job, very lucrative as well. Well, unfortunately, you cannot trace the attacker. Well, as I mentioned before, you cannot, the reason you can't trace the attacker is because you don't have a centralized server over there. Rather, the malware connects to a pool server, which is a genuine server. You cannot trace who has built the crypto miner. So this is a new threat. So what loss it exactly happens? Where it's a power consumption loss, which actually happens for a company, and there's a delayed response in the system. Okay, your system does not respond properly, and so on. So this is what usually happens when it is actually installed. All right, so next gets to the ransomwares, the famous one. I think you have heard of WannaCry. a lot many people have cried after being affected by WannaCry. After WannaCry, they have released something called as PTI as well. So what is a ransomware? Simple. It encrypts the files, and you cannot decrypt the file because in order to decrypt it, you need a key for that. Okay, for encryption, it encrypts with a particular key, and for decryption, you need another key. Okay, so this key, it's a very long key. You don't know where exactly. So only the attacker can actually give you that particular key in order to decrypt the file. Then it was a very big hit. So obviously, you may say that if your computers are actually infected with the ransomware, the first thing that you actually do is you don't pay the attacker at all. I know that. Okay, we don't pay the attacker. We say that, okay, let the data be lost. I'm not really worried about my data. It's just random files over there. But that's not the case of a company. Companies need a lot of data. I think someone has raised their hand. Yes. Just hold on a second. Yes, if you raise the hand, can you ask the question in the chat, please? Or you can switch on your mic if you want.
The chat has been enabled right now.
Someone just raised the hand. I'm just wondering whether you have a question. All right, I'll take the questions in the end. No problem at all. So continuing that, so you may have been affected with the ransomware, but for you, it's not so critical. It's very trivial for you, but for a company, it's absolutely critical because they have some confidential data. If they get encrypted, some weeks of work, some years of work, okay, get destroyed. For them, it's very crucial. And that's the reason the companies got to pay the attacker. Okay. So the Swiss company, a Swiss manufacturer, AB Schmidt, so they have been affected as well. So LOCKHEED, ransomware have been detected in Aldrin Technologies and so on. So, and even the plane manufacturing companies, even they're actually reported. These are the recent attacks in 2020. In 2019, the numbers were actually huge. Almost every company was actually hit by a ransomware. So even these are actually getting trended right now. So what are the other kinds of general botnets, general kinds of attacks? One you have is a botnet. So if I say about botnet, a botnet is nothing but a group of infected machines controlled by an attacker. So you can actually imagine this way. So attacker has a server. When he sends you a bot, so you click on the bot exe file of the executable. So your system gets compromised, and your system contacts the attacker server. All right. So let's say I have 290 users over here. So let's say I send all 290 students a malware in the chat. So you all execute it and you all connect to my server. From the server, I control your machines. So generally, these botnets are actually used for DDoS attacks. That means distributed denial of service attacks. So what does that mean? Now I have 200 infected machines under my control. So I'm the attacker. I have 290 systems under my control. So I inform all the 219 systems to generate traffic on so-and-so website. So when all the 290 systems generate traffic at a time, then that actually creates a DDoS attack. All right. So botnets can also use for stealing information as well. So as I'm actually controlling your system, I can actually steal your information. I can exfiltrate the files and so on. Emonet is a currently trending botnet. All right. So you have something called as information stealers. Rather, more precisely, I say RAT. I mean, these actually come under something called as RAT, which are nothing but your remote administrative Trojans. Remote administration Trojans. These are nothing but your rats. And currently, Agent Tesla is the malware, which is actually a keylogger. So what is a keylogger? So all the keystrokes that you actually type on your system, they are actually sent to the attacker. So rat and a botnet are actually same, except that rat has more capabilities like switching on your webcam, okay, logging your keystrokes, switching on your microphone, seeing your screen, and these are the things which it can actually perform. So they steal information and they are able to, they are something called as banking trojans as well, which are actually taking the banking details. Like whenever you visit any website or you have any banking app installed on your mobile, so they are sniffing those credentials and sending to the attacker as well. So it's a very dangerous threat, and this is the malware which is running right now. So the other threats that current threats that you have is the recent attacks are the COVID-19 manufacturers. Well, the way the Lockheed Martin's is being affected. Similarly, so currently the COVID-19 manufacturers are being affected. So Pfizer, which is a German-based COVID vaccine manufacturer. So South Korean National Intelligence Service, they have reported saying that the North Korea is actually launching the attack. All right. So the other attack is so even the UK and US, Canada, certain intelligence reports even say that there are certain threat groups from Russia as well, which are actually attacking these manufacturers as well. Spelling is wrong. Sorry for the mistake. It's manufacturers. Well, the fun fact is even the cybersecurity companies are not actually secure. Well, this is the recent case where there's a famous company called as FireEye, which is a famous threat intelligence company. It's a cybersecurity company. You can Google it. FireEye and SolarWinds, even they are actually famous companies. Even they have been attacked because the companies are actually using software of the SolarWinds application. SolarWinds has an application and it's vulnerable to malware attack. And they're conveniently able to attack the organizations which are using that software. So SolarWinds, SolarGate, and FireEye is a cybersecurity company. Even that was actually attacked, and the entire world was actually shocked by this incident. And it has happened in December, recently in December. And the incident has come out in around January. So as you can see over here, so cybersecurity companies which are more secured than any other company. So even they are actually under attack. Not only that, even the Microsoft recently has been under attack. US Health Department, Cisco, Intel, and NVIDIA, as you can see in the news in the report, even they are actually under the attack. All right. So I see Donna with their hand raised. Yes, you can ask the question, Donna. All right. So all I want to say in this particular slide is even when cybersecurity companies are actually under risk, even the manufacturing companies are under more risk and so on. Yes. So it's not a fun fact, rather it's the reality. There's no fun in it, but it's the reality. That's how it's actually is. No one is actually able to completely secure. There's no 100% security for any organization. It depends on what percentage are you secure. All right. And finally, so the attack landscape. So how do these attack happen? So first, let me tell you who exactly perform these attacks. So there are certain groups. The first source of attacks, major source of the attacks that you have listened till now. So obviously, these companies have heavily built armored cybersecurity solutions for them, but it's very difficult to intrude it. You need a lot of skill and a lot of programming skills. In order to perform that, you need a huge team, huge budget in order to perform that operation. And obviously, an individual cannot perform this particular operation. You need a lot of investment in performing the attack. Yes, I'm not talking about any investment of any company. Rather, there are some groups which are called as APT groups, which are actually sponsored by the governments. Okay. So APT groups are nothing but the advanced persistent groups. They are actually government sponsored. Okay, and they are heavy. They can actually create cyber weapons and deploy on any organization. So all the attacks which I was explaining till now was actually done by these APT groups. All right. So if you want to know more about these APT groups, just go to the Google and type, if you can see my screen, just type something called as MITRE attack. So this is a famous website in order to know more about the APT groups. So this is the website, which is attack.mitre.org. So if you come to a tab over here called as groups, if you just click on that, and these are different APT groups or advanced persistent groups that you have, right? So every group is actually given a name and an origin as well. I mean, who exactly performs that particular operation. So admin 388, it's a China-based, threat group that actually involves, targeting the financial organizations. APT1, even I think it's China. Yes, even that's actually China. It's been sponsored by the People Liberation Army, PLA of the China, and who are actually involved in this particular APT campaign. And these are the attacks which they have. These are the techniques which they actually use. Okay, compromising the domains, and you have a lot of information in this. All right. And what attacks did they previously perform? So all the every information over here is not just complete blaming on anyone. So the information over here is absolutely genuine. And how do these guys collect the information? They collect the information based on something called as threat intelligence and something called as honeypots technique. Okay, the information over here is absolutely, as you can see over here, most of the APT groups are originally from China over here. So they actually top in that particular. So these are my current two favorites, which is APT29, which are very advanced ones. APT29 is a Russian government based, and APT28, advanced persistent. Even this is actually Russian government based. Very sophisticated, and they can actually perform very complex attack as well. All right. So these are different groups that you have. So most of the advanced persistent threat groups actually origin from China and Russia and North Korea. So these three companies are very infamous, not famous, rather infamous for the cyber attacks. All right. For performing the cyber attacks, I'm sorry. And in the next level, it comes USA and the Israel intelligence agency as well. There's an allegation that the Israel intelligence agency is also involved as well. And in the next level comes the Iran, and so on. So these are the top APT groups. So this is one source of attack. The other source of attack is individual groups and script kiddies. Script kiddies are not hackers, rather they just use the online codes on which are available online, and they perform on the system. So these are the source of the attacks. So what are the ways of intrusion? How can they exactly intrude in an organization? So first is network hack. So you have a lot of IP addresses, servers, network routers, which are publicly available. They attack through that. If there's any loophole, they exploit it, they get inside the network. Next is the web application. Obviously, the web interface is publicly available, and you can actually explore the vulnerabilities. Previously, I used to perform this a lot. I have found web-based vulnerabilities on the government websites, at least, I think, 10 to 15. I don't have the exact number, but I found around 10 to 15 Indian government website vulnerabilities. So the other thing is a phishing attack. Phishing attack is just like sending a mail or the Hawks mail to the employee of the organization saying that, hey, could you please, I'm calling from the information security, could you please install this particular application, or could you please open this particular file? When that employee opens a file, or when he clicks on the executes the exe file, certain malicious things happen on his system, right? So there are some malicious websites as well. I no longer have to explain this. Obviously, everyone has been a victim of this as well. So most of the pornographic websites, okay, and the torrent websites, they're actually quite malicious websites. They are the source of creating malwares to the public. Next thing that you have is the insider attacks, that is from inside the organization. Okay, so I'm not able to attack any organization. So what do? Is I get inside the organization or bribe someone inside the organization and make him install the malware. So one of the attacks is the HID attacks. That's a human interface device attack. So instead of carrying a malware in a USB pen drive and installing and plugging inside the system and executing it, so rather you have certain devices which are called as HID devices. So they look like pen drive, but they're not pen drives. So this is the device. As you can see, it looks like a pen drive, but it's not a pen drive. Rather, it's a keyboard. All right. So you may ask me, where exactly are the keys over here? Yes, obviously the keys are actually coded inside this. Here I have multiple, you have attack modes over here. You can actually start coding. So this is not a pen drive that you have. So rather it's a keyboard. It can actually put the keystrokes which I want on this particular device, right? So how easily is it exactly to fool in an organization? Now carefully observe a small experiment which I'm performing over here. Just a small experiment. Okay, just look at my screen carefully. Now what exactly is happening in my system? Now this is my phone, right? Perfectly fine over here. Now my phone, I'm actually running out of the charge. So I have a phone here. So I say, one day I say that Jake is working in an organization. I say, Jake, can I use your computer? Let's say a receptionist is working somewhere. I say the receptionist saying that, hey, I'm out of charge. Can I, plug in my phone on your system? And just observe what happens if I plug in my particular phone to this particular laptop. If I plug in my phone to this particular laptop over here, so as you can see over here, something is happening inside my system. Yes, there's a PowerPoint has been open, and there's a command, PowerShell has been opened. There's a command, something has happened inside my system. You want that again? You want to observe that again? Just a second. Just observe carefully my screen. Yep. So my run has opened. It has performed certain tasks on my system. Yes. So that means technically I didn't install a malware. So I just imitated that a malware has been installed. Now you can say that, now how exactly did your phone install the malware? Now how exactly did your phone perform the malicious? Well, it's not my phone. When you scroll my phone now, there's a chip which I have got behind my phone. This was actually responsible for performing the malicious action. So simple. We all have been fooled that I was charging my phone, but in fact it's not a phone. Rather, I'm actually using this particular keyboard device over here. So this actually logs in keystrokes. This is about 3 pounds, close to about 300 to 500 rupees over here. And you are able to perform any kind of keystrokes attack. So this small chip is actually able to perform an attack in an organization. So all I want to say is it's very easy to fool a particular employee organization, or make them the actions that the attacker wants to perform. So the attackers are really, really smart. Okay. So if I talk about the risk landscape, so these are the famous top threats. The threats can be insiders, they can be cyber criminals, state-sponsored attackers, hacktivists. So hacktivists are the group of hackers which are politically motivated, and they actually attack the other organizations. Okay, so they are usually called as hacktivists. And certain affinity groups as well. So what exactly are the vulnerabilities? So rapid technology expansion, because technology is growing more, and vulnerabilities are actually because of that. The older technologies are actually becoming more vulnerable than the current ones. Unprepared workforce. Well, the employees who are not really prepared, they are actually weak targets for an organization. So do not put more details on the social media, because if you're working in an organization, you could be one of the clickbait, or you could be one of the scapegoats of the attackers. So don't put much of your information, your photos, your interest, and so on. One day, suppose for example, you love football. Okay, if I say let's say you love football, and I say, hey, could you just open this particular link to have a look at more football videos? So you open the link. Unfortunately, the link is malicious. Okay, so that's a weak point. I made you click on the particular link based on your weaknesses. So liking a football is not a weakness, perhaps sharing everything to the public is your weakness. I think you understand this. So human factor is very sensitive, and policies as well. Certain companies have no proper policies as well, so even they are actually under attack. So what are the risks? So obviously there's an IP theft, there'll be monetary loss, the company will be in loss, the stock market actually goes down after the loss. Okay, the confidence in the public will the company loses the confidence in the public, and these are the things, multiple things which actually happen. Okay, what exactly are the solutions for this? Well, the solutions is to perform penetration test or the regularly, and update your antivirus and firewalls. Well, as I mentioned before, antivirus is not a complete solution and firewalls is not a solution. So harden your networks and system, giving the appropriate access controls. Okay, the lower privileged users should have minimum access, where higher privileged users should have more access. Patch your applications regularly, because if your applications are vulnerable, your system is prone to attack. So that means updating third-party software. These two mean the same. There's no difference. Use two-factor authentications like fingerprints, iris scanner, or any OTP, one-time passwords to the mobile, or your fingerprint password on the mobile as well. And use SIM tools. SIM tools are nothing but the monitoring tool. It actually monitors all the attacks inside your organization. So these are actually quite expensive. You have one of the cheap solution, inexpensive solution. I don't have to say cheap, rather it's not professional. It's inexpensive. So these are Alien Vault is an inexpensive solution. I mean, it's not really expensive. So try using, if it's a small company, small to medium scale company, try using Alien Vault, because most of the SIM softwares are actually expensive. Non-technical solutions, the company should have a very strong policy. Okay, for the policy, there's a standard which is called ISO standard, which is ISO 20001. Right from the recruitment of an employee, signing an NDA, you have all the rules and regulations. So make sure you follow all those rules. You need to have a strong strategy for cybersecurity, saying that how secured your organization could be. Next, employees are the weakest link in the organization. You can easily target the employees based on the interest in the social media. Okay, so even if it's not the employee, suppose for example, after COVID-19, employees have started working from home, even the kids have started using the employee's laptop. If I target the kids as well, that means employees' laptops, he's been compromised. If employee's laptop is compromised, the company is compromised. Simple. So train your employees that how to use the devices, and and so on. Get updates from the threat intelligence reports. Go through these threat intelligence reports. These are the top companies which actually produce those reports, and create a security environment, like saying, hey, don't share the passwords, and so on. Don't leave your files. Okay, don't put your passwords on the sticky notes. So these kind of some posters on inside your company will actually make it more secure. And these are the solutions. And yes, and that's it for the session. Thank you for your patience. I hope something is insightful for you in this particular session. Hope this could actually make you more secure. Actually, not 100% secure, but at least 90%, 95% secure. Yes. Do you have any questions for this? You can actually switch on your mic and you can start speaking if you want. This is the box. Yes, please.
That was indeed an enlightening session.
Oh, thank you so much.
It helped to throw light on various aspects of cyber technologies and the associated issues. Thank you very much, sir. It's now time for an interactive session. The participants can voice any doubts, queries, or clarifications.
Yes, Deepthi has raised a hand. Yes, you can ask a question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Deepthi.
So I have a question. So initially you said like there is no software or anti-malware that can completely protect the data information of a company or a country. So sir, can you tell us more about how the governments protect the information of its citizens? Like if any anti-malware cannot protect the sources or the data of any of us consumers, then
Yes.
even the government is prone to attacks, right? So how are
Yes.
they protecting it?
Exactly. So good question, Deepthi. Okay. So even this is like a rat and mouse game. The question which you asked is a major critic in the field of cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is like a rat and mouse game. Okay, this is how it actually works. The attackers attack the organization, then the company will actually give a defense solution. Then the attacker will evade the defense solution, and company will again patch the application. Again, the attacker will again circumvent the solution, and the company will actually patch them. So it's like a rat and mouse game, which is actually getting performed right now. So the antivirus, especially, they work based on something called a signature. Okay, so signature can be a static signature, it can be a hash value, or it can be a behavior signature, like creating so and so files, opening, contacting a particular CNC server. So these are based on signatures. So there's some kind of intelligence within the. So right now the antivirus are a bit intelligent to observe what it's actually doing. Earlier it was just a dummy antiviruses that you have, which was okay. It's a dummy algorithm saying that okay, if this is the behavior, then this is the malware. So right now they have become more intelligent in place, like including some artificial intelligence and machine learning. So even now, they're actually able to evade certain advanced hackers are actually able to evade those antiviruses as well. So as I mentioned, Deepthi, before, there is no perfect solution for this, okay? So if the attacker is really advanced, who can actually evade all the antiviruses, the companies and governments are actually prone to attack. The only solution is stop using the technology. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yep.
It was a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, Deepthi. Yes, MHRSLN, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I don't know how that name popped in, but then
Okay.
I think I saved it by mistake. I don't use Zoom
That's
a lot.
completely fine. No problem at all.
Yeah, my name is Mahar, M-A-H-A-R.
Hello, Mahar. Yep.
Yeah, hi, sir. Sir, so one doubt is that, sir, as of now, we have talked about the attacks from the point of view of company to company and country to country. So my concern is where when you talk from the point of view of consumers or the public, especially in the field of or the industry of e-commerce.
Mhm.
So how well are the consumers' credentials, like from phone numbers to account and credit card details and all of them, safe from these e-commerce companies?
All right. So first thing you talked about country to country. Well, that's actually possible. Country to a company is actually possible because the APT groups which I mentioned before, the groups which I mentioned before, they are actually being governed by the governments. But company to company, as I mentioned before, that's an allegation. That's an absolute allegation, which I don't want to confirm in this particular session right now. I think that that's going to happen. That's just my personal opinion. There's no concrete proof to it because companies cannot say that I have a hacking team over here. Well, regarding the e-commerce companies that you have, you provide all your details that you like, your phone number, your email address, and so on. This is nothing but your personal information, that PIE information that you have. So every company needs to have something called as a data privacy policy. Every country has a data privacy policy. India is currently getting through the data privacy. Not only India, it's even some of the most developing nations that we have. Even they don't have proper data privacy policy in their countries. Where in Europe, you have a data privacy policy which is called as GDPR, where companies have to abide to that particular policy, saying that if you're providing any information, the company says that, hey, you're giving me information, I'm not going to use this particular I'm not going to spread this particular information. Unfortunately, even the biggest social media giant, which FB, okay, even they have breached the privacy policy. The famous Cambridge Analytica case that they have been caught. Yep. The government says that if you have to protect their data, but the company behind the scenes may maliciously, or unintentionally, they may leak the data, but they ensure that your data is absolutely safe. But
Okay.
even for
So,
these things, there's no assurity of it, because no one monitors it. Especially no one actually monitors. Who can actually assure that, okay, that particular company actually safeguards your data.
sir, I was talking about, yeah, I understood that. Sir, in this case, I was talking about since during this COVID pandemic issues and all, people has like around 70% just transferred them from to online marketplace.
Mhm.
And during these time, I guess most of the people receives a call, a spam call, mostly like a spam call saying that, hi, sir, we are from Amazon. We have received this. You have got an award and that thing. So where I have a confidence that I have only registered my mobile number directly to
Yes.
Amazon. And in that case, if a small detail of our contact number, people don't take it seriously. So
Okay.
I was just thinking if our very minute detail of a contact number is getting leaked, where I have
Yes.
a confidence that I have only registered in just leave it Amazon. It can be any e-commerce
Any
company. Yeah.
third party websites as
So
well.
so how even these companies do have wallet system now. So
Okay.
how well are our credentials? So even if a minute detail of phone number can get leaked and if they can call, so if any illiterate people can give them a chance and we are getting manipulated. So how can
Even
we trust them?
Okay, so so as I mentioned before, there is no 100% security to this. It's only the percentages. You only talk about the percentages that you have. Okay, if there's a third party website, obviously it's a small company, which does not have much credibility. So you cannot really trust them. Okay, they may misuse your data. There's more chances that they may misuse your data. So the company may follow the GDPR policy, or it may not follow the GDPR data privacy policy. Amazon, eBay, and the major e-commerce industries, they definitely follow your GDPR policy. So if you have registered for the Amazon, and if they say that we are calling from Amazon, I think you have registered your mobile data with some other companies. So this is simple. This is simple. I mean, we just have to talk in terms of percentage of trust. There is no 100% trust in the cybersecurity field. Even in organizations like LinkedIn, there was a massive breach of credentials. Okay, the LinkedIn credentials. So there was a massive breach of credentials for the LinkedIn as well. I mean, attackers attacked the LinkedIn profiles, and they have leaked the passwords from that particular website as well. So you can actually imagine the impact.
So
Well,
one last
all I
doubt.
say is, okay, provide as much minimum information as possible, so that even if your mobile number gets leaked, you just be smart enough to not to provide more details about yourself. And the personal thing is, I don't have any social media apps. Okay, so personally, I don't have any social media apps or installed on my mobile. The reason being, I don't want some organization tracking my data. Okay, where exactly I am, okay, in which location I am, and what data I am. Obviously, when you're using Android and iOS mobiles, the Google and Apple, they track your data, that's for sure.
Yeah, AI.
At least when you install Facebook account or Instagram or Snapchat, they conveniently track your location, where exactly are you, and that's intelligence. Okay, they know where exactly you go. They know which locations are your favorites. If you have a couple of football courts in your for ice cream stalls in your city, they exactly know that, okay, you are regularly visiting your ice cream stall, that's your weak point. I may send a phishing link to you. So it's better to avoid the data rather than it's better to avoid this rather than getting into it. Yes, Arya. So someone just hold on a second. Someone just asked me, can you share the WhatsApp privacy issues? Well, the privacy issue is not the WhatsApp privacy issue is completely different. Well, they are not, the WhatsApp privacy issues say that they will not reveal your data, your chats, because WhatsApp personal chats are completely end-to-end encryption. That means only we both can actually encrypt the data. And how can you assure that? Well, it's based on the mathematics that it actually performed, because mathematics don't lie. Obviously, when you generate the key and you and me generate the key and we talk to each other, but group chats, whereas the group chats, they are not really encrypted. They can be sniffed as well. Even your WhatsApp, when it gets backup, okay, when you create a backup of your data, your WhatsApp says, create backup. So if someone inside my
Yeah,
network
the
is
safe drive.
Yep. Could you mute your mics, please, if you don't mind, Mr. Atul? Okay, when you're creating a backup of your WhatsApp, you may actually, the attacker may sniff your, all your, what do you call, chats and everything. But WhatsApp does not take your chats. WhatsApp just takes your location, your photos, your statuses, your friends list, your contact numbers, and so on. And that's the only thing which is concerning right now. Yep.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yes.
you told about these companies, and also the thing is, as a normal user, as a student, as a teacher, or as a normal user. So, what do you suggest we do to avoid these threats? We all as when we came to the these threats, and even in this situation, COVID situation, the users increased. Many of the social media users increased, and nowadays for our classes too, this internet usage is a necessity in our lives. So, what do you suggest, to avoid these threats?
Okay. The first thing is to avoid these threat is to being smart enough to understand whether it's a threat or not. And in certain cases, as I explained before, I may say that, hey, can I charge my mobile, and I plug in inside the plug in inside your laptop. In certain cases, you may not know those kinds of attacks actually exist, but regularly go to the reports. And if you're seriously using the social media channels, there are certain channels as well which actually create some cybersecurity awareness as well. So when you have social media, why can't you follow certain social media channels which actually promote these kind of, which actually educate people on cybersecurity? Please follow this channel. You have a number of channels. There's no one which are actually created. The other thing to avoid these cybersecurity threats is just by being smart enough. If someone says that, hey, you just won a lottery, obviously, why would someone else would actually give money for free? We don't even take money out of our pockets. We hardly take. Why will the company will actually provide the money for me? So I know most of them actually don't get tempted to that, but there are certain situations you may actually succumb into it. All right, some fraud calls or something like that. So make sure that if you get any email attachments saying that, could you please if you if you receive any email, check the source of the email. Okay, who is exactly sending that? Okay, just go to from, and in the from, check who exactly has sent. If it's your friend, then only you have to download that particular file also. And so if it's only if your colleague, then only you perform the download. Do not open the documents of any emails that you actually receive. And that's the and do not put more details on the social media. That's the other concern, because your organization will be under attack if you are the weakest link. So these are the two suggestions which I can actually give. Is that clear, Aman?
Uh, Thank you, sir. On an additional note, all the participants are requested to duly submit their feedback forms. The certificate will be issued only upon the submission of the feedback form. The participants are also requested to ensure that the details are filled in properly. As we come to an end of the session, I invite Mrs. Neha and Varghese, faculty in English and the spokesperson of the department, for the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, all. As we come to the conclusion of Logified 2021, Day 1, I take up with great honor the duty of delivering the vote of thanks. A heartfelt gratitude is due to many because without their wholehearted efforts, this event would not have been executed so well. I'd first like to express my immense gratitude to our chief guest and resource person, Mr. Bhargava Chirupalli, for an extremely illuminating session that opened up for us a wholly new and expansive world of cyber technologies and its multifarious aspects. One must have to acknowledge how inspiring it is to have reached such a stage of expertise at such a young age. I also thank him for accepting our request to conduct this session, which was indeed a great effort by him, considering such an early time schedule at 8 a.m. in UK time. On behalf of the whole department, I thank you, sir, from the bottom of my heart. I extend my gratitude to our HOD, Mr. Jose Francis, for guiding and supporting us to make this event a success. My sincere gratitude to all participants whose presence and cooperation have made this session a lively one. And finally, to all teachers, students, and the technical team whose constant support and unending efforts have been the very reason for making this event a success. Once again, I thank you all. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yep, it's really an honor for me.
Once again, on behalf of the department, I thank the chief guest and all the participants for making this webinar session a success. My sincere gratitude to the HOD, teachers, and students who work towards making this event happen. We expect your presence for the session tomorrow at 2 p.m. Thank you.